All right, my name is Stephanie Flynn. I'm interviewing Elaine Judge on March 16th, 2016 at about 1:15 p.m. Could you please begin the interview by spelling your full name?
Yes, Elaine. Judge is Judge, like the courtroom.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just start off by talking about growing up and your personal background. When were you born? Are you a full-time resident in Indiana?
Yeah, I've lived here my whole life outside of 3 years. Whenever I was about 30 years old, I left for 3 years and then came back. So I'm really entrenched here.
Yeah.
I don't know really why I'm still here, but anyhow, I'm here. I grew up, in fact, my family home is still on campus. It's the Ruskini house on the corner, that yellow brick house there on the corner of Maple and 11th. That was where I grew up. And, of course, Indiana was so different, back then. It was smaller, and the university, well, it wasn't a university then, it was a college. And it was, in 1960 when I started there, it was only about, I think, 6,000 students. So it's just so big now. But everybody knew everybody back then. I think that's why we never got in a whole lot of trouble, because everybody would rat on you if you did anything you shouldn't be doing. So, but yeah, this is my hometown.
Do you have any great memories from growing up? Anything that really stands out?
Oh, just that we just were outside all the time, and we walked and we biked, and people didn't worry about their children like they do now. Maybe we should have worried. Maybe they should have worried. But you could leave the house at 10 o'clock and take a lunch, in a paper bag, and end up in the woods somewhere with your friends with your bikes, a couple miles from here, and just, have fun. It was just a free time. It was just a wonderful childhood here.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun.
And I had all my relatives were on Maple Street. I had 2 aunts and a whole bunch of cousins, and we all lived on the same street. So it was just a big family thing, too. And that was really nice. Now everybody left. We're the only ones that stayed here in Indiana. But we just had a really wonderful life in our childhood.
Speaking of your family, what were your parents like? What kind of memories do you have of them?
Oh my, they were really unusual people. I was really lucky to have them as my parents. My mother was from Punxsutawney, and she was one of 8 children. She started the agency, the Ruskini Insurance Agency, in 1938. That was her thing. My grandmother said, well, why do you want to be a secretary? Start your own agency. So she did. And she was way ahead of her time. And my dad had lived all over the world. His dad was an engineer, and so my dad had lived all over the place. He was in Egypt, he was in France, he was in Italy, he was in Siberia for 3.5 years. And then he came to Punxsutawney to visit his uncle, who was a priest there, and he met my mother.
It's a fascinating story.
And she was to be married in 3 weeks to a doctor. Well, that didn't work out. When she met my dad, that was the end of the doctor.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's just kind of a Cinderella story. And so they were very active in the community, volunteering for everything. And a lot of the people came here, like the Gaddy's, Gaddy's drugstore people were here, Spatafores that have the Colonial Motor Mart. A lot of the ethnic people, especially, like Recuperos, Rustic Lodge, and all these people, all came about the same time. So they all kind of helped each other, get started and kept their businesses growing. And that went on for a long time. My dad especially, was very involved with the international students because of his background. Mm-hmm. So they were very involved. And we had people from all over the world at our house all the time. We never knew who was going to be there.
Yeah, I bet that introduced you to so many different traditions.
Oh, it really did, yeah, because they would cook and they would, and on breaks they'd stay with us. And particularly one student, Bernard Opara, and he was here and he was at our house a lot. He was from Africa. And then we had students from Jamaica. and students from, France. And in the summertime, they used to bring groups of students from India and different places here for several weeks. So they'd always end up down at our house and cooking and visiting and so forth. And I had a very interesting childhood, a very unusual childhood in growing up. And I had one brother. He's deceased now.
Sorry.
He went to Penn State in business, and he took the family business, and now his son has it. So that's pretty much. But the office was down there in that yellow brick house.
Yeah, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah.
I've always kind of wondered the story about that house.
Well, they asked me to go in there and bring pictures because I had pictures before the state took it over by right of eminent domain, and so they have pictures down. I have pictures, and they want me to go down and show them and explain to them, what the house looked like then, and to give a little talk about it.
That's good.
For the people who work there. Because I went in several years ago, and it doesn't look anything like my house.
Yeah, I bet that's quite a shock,
It really was. It was rather depressing to go, they say you can't go home again. That's about what it means.
Yeah, fortunately, it seems like a lot of things have changed.
Yeah, right.
For you.
Oh, yeah. Just in the last 5 years, even with technology and everything, it's completely different.
Yeah.
But I had a very close-knit, my parents were both Italian, full-blooded, and all these crazy relatives that we grew up with. And I can remember just sitting around the dining room table all the time, eating, and talking. No cell phones then.
Yeah.
You sat down and talked to everybody. And it was just a great growing up.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Mm-hmm. It was great.
Did your family have any connections to the Keith School particularly?
No, my aunt, my mother's sister's kids went there. And so when I was born, my aunt told my parents, you better get her registered. You had to register almost when your child was born because of the small classes. We only had like the 27 in my class. And so then you started kindergarten, and it went through 10th grade then. Every year, then they'd back it up a little bit, and before it closed and became the university school, it only went up to 6th grade. But when I was there, we went through 10th grade, and then we went to the high school, which was a shock to all of us because it was big, and a lot of people didn't, we didn't know a lot of those people. So it was, I miss the smallness of our school.
Yeah. Was it the high school? That's like
It was in the junior high.
Okay.
Where the junior high is now.
Okay, I know there's a couple different buildings.
The senior high wasn't built yet, and 7th through 10th through 12th were in that junior high building.
Mm-hmm. It's on the clear other side of town from Keith.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Huh. And we walked, like I said, we were never bused anywhere. Mm-hmm. And I'd walk to school with my brother, or I'd walk to school with my cousins. And my cousin used to like to walk with me because she'd make me carry her French horn. Oh. And I thought, why couldn't you play the flute or something? And then this big thing I was lugging to school. And we came home for lunch also. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could stay there if you wanted to, but it was fun just getting out. And we'd walk through the Oak Grove every day. So we were through the Oak Grove twice a day.
Yeah, I bet there were so many more trees and everything.
Oh, yeah, it was beautiful. And a lot of our student teachers, which we would have a ton of student teachers, they lived in Clark Hall. That was I think it was a boys' dorm first and then a girls' dorm. Oh. And we would go up to their rooms and visit with them on the way. Mm-hmm. Like on weekends or something, we'd go up.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember one time climbing up a fire escape on a dare to go see one of the teachers up on the 3rd floor or something. Mm-hmm. But we didn't get in a whole lot of trouble. Number one, we were surrounded by relatives. Everybody knew what you were doing at all times.
Yeah, there were always eyes.
Yeah, and somebody rat on you. So we just kind of behaved ourselves pretty much.
Were there any other school activities you were involved in? I know you said about your sister playing the French horn.
My cousin.
Yeah. I'm sorry, cousin. Right. My apologies. Mm-hmm. Did you do anything? Or
I played the piano. Mm-hmm. I took piano lessons. That didn't work out real well. And at Keith, I was a cheerleader and a majorette, and I was the president of the Dramatics Club. And in fact, the other night at the bicentennial dinner, the student teacher who was our person for the club itself was there at dinner, and I had dinner with her, and she was talking about back in the day. And so we just had a really great time.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. I know it seems like anymore these days you don't get to do quite as many things in school.
Right. Well, what was nice about it was that everybody got to do something. Mm-hmm. I was feature editor of the paper, and I was on the yearbook staff. And we did get in trouble with the yearbook because they were printed. And Dr. Blair, who lived to be 100, she just recently passed away a few years ago, and she was our advisor, and she's very strict. And so we found out that the yearbooks were being delivered one day, and so we thought, we're going to go into her office and we're going to see what they look like, because we could hardly wait. So we got people to stand at the steps, because her office was on the second floor, and then alert us when she was coming up. Well, they didn't do so well, and we were caught red-handed in her office with these yearbooks. And that was probably about the worst thing we ever did. We got in a whole lot of trouble that day.
Yeah. But I bet it was worth it to see.
Yeah, like, to see it. Yeah, it really was, and that was just, we were sent down to the principal's office, and it was bad, And it was the end of the year, so we thought, oh boy, maybe she's not going to let us graduate.
Oh, no. Well, luckily, it doesn't seem like that happened.
No.
Yeah.
And everybody, you'd have a dance, and everybody decorate for the dance. Everybody was involved, even if they didn't want to be. You'd get everybody, and it was just like one big happy group.
Yeah.
I don't remember any bullying. Maybe I'm naive about that, but I don't remember anybody making fun of anybody, at least not in my class. Mm-hmm. Everybody seemed to get along. I was the only Catholic in my class. Never got any problems with that. I was the only one with an ethnic name. Never had any problem with that. And I don't know, maybe, I'm sure somebody got bullied somewhere along the way, but I was not aware of anybody, at least in my class.
Yeah.
And we've still stayed in touch over
That's
all these
wonderful.
years. Whenever we had the reunion, almost all of them came back. Now, about 4 of them went on from Keith to go to prep schools. 4 or 5 of them left, and they went to various prep schools. And then we kind of lost track of that group. And although one did come back from California, we had people back here from the state of California.
For the reunion? Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we all look different. We're old now. But when you start talking to somebody, and 5 minutes later, it's just like that old person. That person is still in there.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
And it's just kind of like time stood still for us.
Yeah, that's great that you got to keep in close contact with all your classmates.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
now
special.
with email, it's so easy. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no excuse not to keep in touch now.
Right, yeah.
So I've gotten back in touch with several people that I had lost track of, and now we communicate in Christmas cards and stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah, it's good to see that technology's really helped with that too.
Yeah, it has.
Let's see. Is there anything else that stands out about the school that you remember? Did you go to prom? Did they have prom?
They had a prom. Yeah. They had, and as I said, everybody went. Mm-hmm. And if you didn't have a date, you go with the girls. Mm-hmm. They're doing that now, I guess.
Yeah, it does seem to be a trend. Yeah.
And so everybody would decorate, and it was the 10th grade dance, and it was in the springtime. And the guy I went with, he's passed away now, but we had a really good time. And there was I had a party at my house before and invited everybody.
Sounds like fun.
And that was fun. It was in the springtime, and it was really nice out. And
yeah. Oh, I bet it was beautiful.
It was beautiful.
Was it outside or?
It was in the gym. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things that I was disappointed in with the reunion, because they couldn't go into the gym because it's all those offices down there now.
Yeah.
But the gym was the place where every Christmas that was the Christmas place, you know, for the singing and all the Christmas festival. And then they had just everything in there, the basketball games, the dances, the plays, because the stage was there also. And everything was in that gym. The next second best room was the demonstration room. Do you know where that is? You know that rounded room.
Oh, right whenever you walk in that door. Yeah, right. I actually had a couple classes in there. Okay,
well, that was called the demonstration room, and everybody had fond memories of that. And we had like a lot of various people would come and talk to all of us. Now there is, we think, we're not sure, but we think there's a time capsule either in the building or below the plaque on the back that faces Leonard.
Wow.
Because Margie Durward, who co-chaired the reunion, remembers, she's a couple years older than I am, and she remembers going outside when she was about in 3rd grade, and they were doing a ceremony, and she remembers something about a time capsule. So we told the guy at Archives to check that out, and he was going to check it out.
Yeah, hopefully something comes up.
Yeah.
That'd be really interesting.
That would be interesting. Yeah. The other thing that our group requested was that they keep those, excuse me, I've had this cold, that they keep those little towers that are out front. Because those were donated by class of 39, I think.
Oh, okay.
And like to have them save those and use them somewhere. So, yeah, whether they will, I don't know.
Yeah, I really hope that they work with your desires on that.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I just, I can't tell you how upset I am that they're tearing this building down.
Yeah. Seems to be such an important part of your life.
It really was. Yeah. It really was. And I don't know. I never had any classes there whenever I was in college, because I was an elementary major and we were all over mostly on the other side of campus. But I feel really bad. It's just kind of like some of the past, because my whole neighborhood where I grew up is all IUP. The only house that's on that block was the house I grew up in. All the other houses where my aunts lived and stuff are gone. Yeah. So, but, you know, time marches on, and I'm going to be 74 years old in September, so I'm getting up there. Of course, things are going to change.
Yeah. How was it living through and seeing all of the changes done to the town you used to know?
That's a good question. We'll sit around every once in a while, our friends, and talk about what everything was before it is now. And my next door neighbor who went to Keith, she's going to be 89 in May, and her father had a music store uptown, but that was in the 30s, and or even maybe late 20s. It was just completely different. I remember being totally fascinated with the Jimmy Stewart hardware. And his dad was a character. And he put his Oscar in the window. And it wasn't any security or anything. He just knew nobody would ever touch that Oscar. So it was just there. You could have broken the glass and taken it. Yeah. But nobody would have touched that. That was like sacred property. Yeah. But his father was quite a character, and I remember seeing old Mr. Stewart walking around, and when there would be a movie here, he would go and watch it. If they were going to show it 4 times, he would be there the whole time. That's really neat. Yeah. Yeah. That part of Indiana history is so neat to me. Where I'm from, we don't have any celebrities. So coming here and just being able to... Well, see, maybe you could be a celebrity. Johnstown's first celebrity. Oh, gosh. Yeah. I had a lot of different prompts, but you've touched on a lot of them. Yeah. What else could you say about maybe what the town was like, the community? Oh, okay. Was it really cohesive, or was it diverse, I guess? It was pretty diverse. We had mostly I can't say all of the people uptown that owned shops were Jewish, but a lot of the Jewish community came in. There was a place called Brody's Department Store, which is across from where Gaddy's is now. And a lot of those men who had stores in Punxsutawney, I think it was, and came to Indiana. And I remember the old guys who brought it here. My dad, since he had lived all over the place, he could speak 6 languages, and he used to speak to them. And I remember people really, I think the difference that I notice now, it really bothers me even now, that people will look at you or put their heads down whenever they pass you and no one will say anything. That didn't happen then. Everybody talked. They would not only just say hello, but they would get into these big, long discussions, and it was, it was smaller, and people weren't in a big rush like they are now. But they really wanted to know about your family, and everybody knew the names of everybody's kids, and it was, and then there were my one friend, her dad owned Morton's drugstore, and she was in my class, and we would go up once a week up to Morton's, and he would make us cherry smashes, which were like a cherry Coke. There was a soda fountain there, and so that was our big treat. We would go up there. There were 2 movie theaters up there, and that's what a lot of us would do on Friday and Saturday night, go to the movies. And then there was the Capitol Restaurant, and they made these rolls that were just outstanding. We had them at the reunion because everybody remembers them. They were absolutely delicious. And one of our classmates got the original recipe for it. They didn't look exactly like they were, but they were just disgustingly fat. We can't eat that kind of stuff anymore.
I mean, that's always the best stuff, right?
And then there was where Taze Restaurant is now, that was where the train would come in. And then there was a train station up across from where Jimmy Stewart's Hardware was. And I don't know. I never rode the train in or out of Indiana.
Oh, okay.
But it would get down past Breesedale. I think it went to Blairsville. And but it's been, one of the alums from IUP called me whenever they were really getting into these dorms and the new dorms and so forth, and asked me, because I graduated from IUP in ’64, asked me if that bothered me, that they were changing the whole face of the, and I said, no, it's, they have to keep up with all the other schools. But one day it just was outstanding to me. My husband was in the hospital and he was on the 3rd floor. And I remember looking out of his window towards campus, and all you see are buildings. There's very little green space left. And especially now with that big, humongous humanities building. Yeah. And, that's where you are now, right?
It is.
Yeah. And, but just so they don't touch the oak grove.
I would feel the same.
They're not allowed to touch the oak grove.
Yeah. I mean, even just being here a short time, I really like that we have that space in the middle.
It's beautiful.
I love it. Yeah. It's so gorgeous in the spring.
Yeah, right. Oh, and then the town would offer, IUP would offer summer theater. Like every week there'd be a play for I think 6 weeks.
That's really cool.
And, outside, they're kind of getting back to that a little bit, outside concerts and stuff like that.
Did a lot of your classmates continue on to IUP, or were you unique in that situation?
No, a lot of them did. Yeah, a lot of us did. Yeah, probably, I'd say maybe half of my class went to IUP.
It's really interesting. Do you think it was just because you're all right here and living here, or did a lot of your classmates have their parents connected to the university?
No, not really too many. In fact, there were only just a couple in my class whose parents were on the faculty.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there weren't many at all. And so I think maybe just 2 of them were. But it was convenient. And the school was really good. The elementary department was excellent here. The music department was really excellent too. So a lot of them went into those. And then I guess if they were going to go on to grad school, then they went somewhere else, usually. I stayed here and got my master's, but a lot of them went somewhere else. Oh, and the one thing, too, another thing was Waller. Waller Hall, where they have the plays now.
Yeah.
Well, there was a pool in there.
Oh.
In the basement. There was a swimming pool. And every Wednesday or every Thursday morning or whatever, we had part of our curriculum was to go over there and swim.
Was that whenever you were in
Keith School.
Okay.
All year round. It didn't matter if there was 3 feet of snow on the ground. You went over there every week. And the guys would get back really quicker than we were. And we could never figure out how they made it back there. Well, apparently there's a tunnel under the campus between Waller and Keith.
Oh, my.
And I don't know whether it's still there or not, but they finally told us at that reunion how they got back so fast, because we never knew about the tunnel. And so that was fun, too. I remember going to a play there a couple years ago, and where they do the plays in the basement is the stage, where the pool was is the stage.
Oh.
And I was looking at the stage, and I thought, you know how around, like sometimes they have that tile, special looking swimming pool tile, and it was all around the perimeter of the stage. And I thought, what was that? Oh, and then I thought, that's where the pool was.
That's really neat that they kept that there.
They kept that.
Yeah.
They kept the floor.
Would you say that IUP does like a pretty good job of keeping like accents like that?
I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think so. What I really wanted to take out of Keith were the thing of the blue tiles, because some of those people hadn't been in that building in 50-some years, and they came over, and everyone just stood and looked at those blue tiles because they were in there when they built it. Those are the original ones.
Yeah. And
I thought, boy, I'd get one of those tiles, and somebody could draw a picture. A classmate of mine, Jackie Watkins, she's an artist, and she made a commemorative ball, like an ornament for the reunion. And we thought we could get Jackie to draw a picture of Keith on these squares.
That would be so neat.
And that's what we were going to do, but apparently they didn't want to mess with any of that stuff, so.
Yeah, that is unfortunate.
Yeah. But at least I got my little locker number.
That is a neat little souvenir. Let's see, where can we go from here? I guess this might be backtracking a little bit, but how was it determined if you went to the Key School or one of the other schools?
Well, all the other schools were public.
Okay.
Well, except St. Bernard's. St. Bernard's was always there, like the Catholic school.
So the Key School was a private one.
Keith School was kind of, I guess you could say, but it was open to the public. Anybody who wanted to register their child there could.
You just said you had to register early.
Yeah, you had to register early. So, and a lot of people think that it was just faculty children, but it wasn't. It was everybody. I had my friends, I had one of them, his dad worked at a parcel service place. Somebody else's father had the drugstore. Then there was a music professor whose daughter was in my class, and an English professor whose daughter was in my class. But basically everybody else was just kind of a mix. Blue collar, white collar, everybody.
Yeah, that's something that I know came up a lot just with us talking about it, because we weren't sure how it worked. I know a lot of schools seem to be divided on, like communities or something. If you live over here, you'll go to that school. Yeah. So we just weren't sure how that worked.
Well, see, back then there was Horace Mann, and then there was Thaddeus Stevens, where Euler Hall is.
Okay. That was at the grade school.
And, it was Thaddeus Stevens, and we used to always kid that's where the worst kids went, because they had this crowd that used to go around and beat up on everybody.
Oh, no.
Of course, so did the Catholic school kids, but we always thought, of course, we were beyond that. We would never stoop to such levels. But
I guess, do you want to talk about maybe how you organized the reunion and what that experience was like?
Oh my, that was absolutely incredible. I don't know whether you saw the tape.
I haven't been able to yet. I was able to look through the program and see everybody's memories.
We have to watch the tape. Well, we planned it, and poor alumni office. The only time we wanted to have it before they tore it down it would be 2 years ago this October, and we had it. And poor Mary Morgan, she was wonderful to us, but we had it the week after homecoming, and I don't know how she ever did everything for us, but she was wonderful. Well, they had been talking about it for years, and actually we tried to have it about 10 years ago, whenever a lot of our teachers would still have been alive, because as it is now, very few of them are left. And I don't know what happened, but we were never told exactly why they didn't want us to do it. So I kept running into Margie Van Dyke, and she really wanted to have this reunion, and she kept getting, heat from her friends. When are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? People living out, especially the one friend up in Canada, who kept telling her, we've got to get together because we're getting old and we're seeing our friends die or getting sick or whatever. So I said, okay, we're gonna. Well, she would see me at the grocery store, and I would say, oh Lord, here she comes again with this Keith thing, because I knew it was going to be a really big job. Mm-hmm. Well, finally she cornered me the one day and she said, we have to do this. So I said, okay. So we sat down and we chose 8 other people to work with us. And we had a great committee. It was, and some of them were older, some of them had graduated, a lot later than we did. And it was a really good mix of everybody, and they all knew each other, and they all lived basically here in Indiana. So we started. Well, the first thing, we had to get the names. Well, now with cell phones, you can't trace or track people because they don't have landlines anymore. So that made it harder. But we would go to the people who had the high school reunions lists. Mm-hmm. And we'd get their lists and then take all those Keith School kids off those lists. Mm-hmm. And that's how we found most of them. A lot of them are dead. A lot of our professors are gone. A lot of them couldn't come because maybe one of the spouses is sick and they couldn't leave. But the turnout we thought was really, really good. We had about 320 people there.
That's wonderful.
Well, it was a horrible day.
Oh.
And we were going to have the lunch in the demo room. Mm-hmm. But there were so many people we couldn't. Mm-hmm. So we thought, okay, next best thing. Usually third week of October, it's not really that bad out. Mm-hmm. But that particular day, it was not a very nice day. Oh. And it rained and it was cold. And everybody was sitting under this tent looking like a bunch of refugees in their raincoats and everything. We invited a Mrs. Blair. This isn't the same Mrs. Blair that was teaching at Keith, but she was one of the oldest people who went to Keith.
Oh, okay.
And she was almost 100 years old. And her son from California was here. Mm-hmm. Her other son lives here in Indiana. So she came in a wheelchair in the rain in this freezing day.
Oh, no.
She came. And then she passed away shortly after that. But we knew she would come. She mm-hmm. was just wouldn't want to miss this.
Yeah.
And so we have nice video of her. And then we thought, we don't want to have it like just as a formal dinner and speeches and all this stuff. We just want this to be fun and lighthearted, mm-hmm. like when we were kids.
Yeah.
No formality, no nothing. So they catered it at IUP, and they did a beautiful job. But we got the players from the theater department to come over and do some songs. They did a couple dances that were popular then, the jitterbug and stuff. And then we did cheers. We made signs, and we held up, give me a K and give me an E and give me an I, and we did a couple cheers with it. And then one of our committee people, Kathy Armstrong, did a song, and it went to the Sound of Music song about the, I can't even think of the name of it now. I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of it. But anyhow, it was all these memories that we had. And she mentioned in this song all the people who passed away. And,
wow.
And we all sang that as a group. And then we found the alma mater in archives. He was very nice about letting us go up there, finding all the old newspapers, all the old yearbooks, mm-hmm. and everything that we had. And and then we had like different stations in Keith. And we had somebody brought in little tiny chairs from you know, from the little grade school things and the little desks and so forth. And of course, they couldn't get into your department, which would have been where our 4th, 5th, and 6th grades were.
Oh.
They wouldn't let us in there, and I can understand that. But they saw everything else. The gym was a big disappointment, though, that we couldn't go in there. But that was okay. Well, they went around, and we had cut out pictures, and we found old books that were used then, and everybody donated all this stuff. And we had red and white balloons all over the place because our colors were red and white. And they had Capitol rolls there, and they had, like, when they got there, they had coffee, and they had these rolls, and everybody was just having them. And then there was a video, pictures from the archives that we had, like a slideshow on the wall, and that was nice. Then we went to the signing company, and we had a big sign across Philadelphia Street about the Keith reunion, and it hung up there for a couple weeks. They took it down and they gave it to us, and we put it on a big table. It was huge, and everybody signed it.
That's really neat.
Yeah, and it was donated to the Historical Society.
Okay.
Archives didn't want it, and so we gave it to the Historical Society, and it has everybody's name on it in their class here.
That's really cool. It seems like the whole experience is like stepping back in time and revisiting all these wonderful memories you've had.
And then you'd walk through, and I was helping at registration, so I missed seeing a lot of people because I was working. But you'd hear the same thing over and over. It was like, oh, it's you, you know, and then these big hugs and everything. When it was over, I think they thought maybe we were going to trash the place. I don't know what they thought.
Yeah.
But they didn't know the Keith School mentality. You'd never trash the place. And when they all left, when everybody left, I was on the cleanup committee, of course, and several other people. And we had someone write welcome back on all the blackboards or green boards. And so those were all erased. There was one cup in the hallway on the floor that I found. That was the only thing that was on the floor. No cups, no napkins. But in some of the classrooms, they had like little circles of chairs. Could see where they had gathered, you know, to reminisce and so forth in certain rooms.
It must have been like a really rewarding experience.
It was. So I have pictures of all these little, you know, groups of chairs and all this stuff. But they didn't do anything. They didn't damage anything or anything. I mean, of course not. That wouldn't have even been a thought in our minds that anybody would do anything like that.
Yeah. I mean, especially after so many years of reunion, that would have been out of place.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then the clothes, you know, I should have kept the clothes because the clothes are all back now.
Oh.
You know, with the poodle skirts and all that stuff back in the 50s when I went. You know, it was just different saddle shoes. And I looked everywhere for a pair of red and white saddle shoes, and I couldn't find a pair anywhere. Because that's, you know, those were our colors, and I wore them when I was a cheerleader over there. And I couldn't find red and white saddle shoes anyplace. About a week after that reunion was over, I found them advertised somewhere. And I was going to buy them, but I thought, well, what am I going to do with these saddle shoes?
That would have been really neat for the reunion, though.
Yeah, it would have, you know.
Yeah.
So, but, you know, it was, I mean, you got dressed up if you were going to go somewhere. Not like now. Nobody really gets dressed up to go anywhere. Of course, there were problems with that, too. You know, I can see both ways. Because a lot of kids, you know, maybe couldn't get stuff or new stuff for everything. And our graduation was... it was very tearful, you know, because some of the classmates were going to leave and go off to school somewhere for the rest of high school. And we knew that when we got over there that our friendships weren't going to be as close as they were.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was sad. And it was in the gym. That was another reason why they wanted to go see the gym. And then there was a party at the country club after, and it was real nice. And I have pictures from that, and
wow,
and it was just fun.
Yeah. I know I had already asked about like your class size from Keith, but how did it change whenever you went to the high school? Like how many more kids were
Oh,
there?
there were tons of kids.
Yeah.
I ended up in an all-girls home ec room down in the basement, and there were probably about 40 girls in that room. Classes were pretty big. They were, well, I don't know, they weren't 27. There were a lot of, and I was in general college course. Mm-hmm. And of course, when you get to be a junior in high school, most of those cliques and those friendships and so forth had, already been established. And so some of us felt really out of it, mm-hmm. like we really didn't fit in.
So a lot of the students had been going to that school
since 7th grade.
Right.
Because all the public grade schools just went up to 6th grade, including the Catholic school. Mm-hmm. And we were the only. Now, some of the guys at Keith left in 9th grade to go play sports at the high school.
Oh, okay.
So several of those guys in each class would leave early. Mm-hmm. My brother left. He left in 9th grade because he wanted to run track, and they didn't have track at Keith school. But a lot of them went over to play football and to play basketball.
Did the Keith school have any of their
They had basketball. They had intramural teams. They had an intramural volleyball team and some basketball teams. But they had we played, local teams. Would be mostly junior high. Mm-hmm. And they always packed everybody in there. I mean, they always had big crowds for everything.
Yeah, I bet that was fun.
We spent really maybe too much time together, because then in the summertime we were always together down at Mack Park. Mm-hmm. We'd swim every day, and unless you had a job.
Yeah. Did you work in high school at all? Or?
I worked at my uncle's printing shop a couple summers. Mm-hmm. Not all summer, but part of the summer. But a lot of them babysat. Mm-hmm. A lot of them. I was always helping my mother. She was always volunteering for something or other, and I was always following around behind her, taking stuff here or there, wherever. And
yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah, so yeah.
Oh.
But it was a fun time. I wish I could go back again.
Yeah.
And redo it all.
What would you say you miss the most?
What? Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I just I think I just miss although I have friends still from back then, but I think I just miss kind of that closeness and that we still get together and talk. Of course, back then you talked about boys. When you read my yearbook, and it's really funny because every once in a while I'll get it out and I'll read what one of my friends wrote about such and such a boy, and and it was funny.
Maybe times haven't changed that much.
Well, they've really changed now. And but it was just it was good times. Yeah. So I'm really glad we had the reunion. And then of course they said, you should plan another one. And I said, we should plan another one? No, I think you should plan another one. And what they wanted to do next time was just have a dinner. Mm-hmm. No program, nothing. Just have a dinner and just talk and see each other again, because we're getting into the point pretty soon where you're not going to buy green bananas. People now, they're different now. They're like everybody else. They've been through a lot in life. They've taken care of parents. We don't have any parents alive now. We're all orphans. And siblings have passed away, relatives, close friends. So you're looking at a whole group of people who have, been through some trying times. Mm-hmm. Normal things that happen. Nobody's getting out of here alive. But it's different now.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I have kept in touch with my old friends, because I think they are probably the best friends. The ones that know everything about you. Mm-hmm. We think that's why we're still friends, because they could blackmail because they know everything, and they'll still kid you about some guy you went to the dance with, or have you seen who or whoever lately, and it's just fun.
That is really neat that you had such a close community that you could have these connections with everybody.
Now, see, but we didn't do like a lot of stuff that you kids do. Like, we weren't really into service back then. Maybe our parents were, but we weren't.
Okay.
Like, we didn't do like MS walks, cancer walks. We weren't like really into that. I don't know whether we weren't aware of it, and I can't remember when all that started.
Yeah.
But like,
did it seem like the whole town really didn't do a lot of that? Or?
No, I think everybody was doing stuff like for your neighbors, taking care of your families, taking care of your neighbor if you needed it. But we didn't have like these big groups walking somewhere or raising money for something like somebody needs an operation for cancer or something, and they'll have all these big dinners and everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you noticed that like has changed like a whole lot?
Oh, just I don't know. It's stayed pretty much the same. Like when I go uptown, I can remember what it was. All those stores were before they were, you know, and I can remember things that go back 2-3 times before what they are now. You know, and in fact, we'll start talking about that because you need somebody to jog your memory every once in a while.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Indiana, I think, is still a pretty friendly place. I'm amazed when I'll talk to some students and they don't go uptown.
Oh.
Like they'll say, I've never been uptown. Where is it? They don't know where it is because they're, you know, just kind of on campus.
Yeah.
I crossed the street on that crosswalk where Jimmy Stewart gives his little talk, you know. Oh, it really isn't him. And this student said to me, who is that guy? He said, every time I'm up here, who is Jimmy Stewart? And I said, okay, you have to watch one of his movies. So I told him to watch Rear Window.
Oh.
Because I said, that's always been my favorite one. And so he promised me. I said, and if you don't like Jimmy, you're going to love his leading lady because she's very beautiful, Grace Kelly. And so he said he would. Now, whether he did or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I love those old movies.
Oh, I do too.
Fun.
Yeah, I love the old movies.
Anything else you'd want to say? I mean, anything really.
Yeah, I'm just very glad that you're doing this. I think this is really going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, we're all very excited, like as a whole. I think a lot of us want to see IUP like be like a beneficial part of the town and everything. And I don't know. I like being able to be a part of the community that I go to school in. I love that.
Yeah, see, I think that's great. I just read in the school board news the other night last night that they're going to get some graduate students to help kids read in the grade schools.
Oh.
And use all these resources we have. I mean, my gosh, I think there probably could be more done between the campus and the town.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah. I mean, do you think IUP serves like a good role here? Like,
oh, fantastic. Yeah. I'd never want to live anywhere else outside of a college town, university town. Yeah. We go over for everything. You know, their lively arts, their music. We love their music stuff. We just went to the concert, their spring concert.
Oh, wow.
The brass. And we go to a lot of stuff over there. Mostly the music series and so forth.
Are you still involved, like working at IUP?
My husband was he was sports information director.
Okay.
And he was also first alumni director here. But he's been retired for about 10 years now. And he's still involved with the Hall of Fame, or the sports thing. He's on the board.
Wow.
So he's still doing that. I'm not doing anything. We helped with our 50th class reunion a couple years ago.
And that would have been from your IUP class?
From IUP,
oh, wow.
Class of 64. Yeah. And our daughter's in alumni work now. She's out at Baldwin Wallace University in Berea in Ohio, and they bring all their classes in, you know, every May. So of course this year she'll get the class of 1966, and she lives in the dorm with them all weekend.
Oh, wow.
So it's really been interesting for her because we were older when we had her, so she knew like a lot about, you know, things that happened like maybe she would remember or have heard about them, whereas maybe somebody with younger parents wouldn't have. And she just loves to see these old guys coming back for their reunions.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. So she's following in her father's footsteps.
That's neat, though.
But, I think to just live in a regular town, I don't think I would like that.
Yeah.
And I don't like it when the kids aren't here.
Oh.
I think they assume because we're older that we'd probably like the quiet, but it's like a cemetery when you guys aren't here.
It's a very distinct between summer and during the school year.
The only thing, now see, summer used to be really busy up here, like when we were in school. There were a lot of people, but now I don't think so much. We don't see too many. But I love it when the kids are back. Not whenever they're causing problems, but when you consider how many people are up here.
Yeah,
I think it's very, very good, and it's good because we've been involved in some political stuff, and of course draws in like a lot of professors and so forth, and we know we don't know as many people as we used to know. Like when we go out, and we'll go to games and stuff, and we'll see a lot of people we know, but there's a lot of people we don't know too, because the younger people coming in.
Yeah. You did know so many, though. It's just wonderful. I mean, it speaks a lot to everything you've done, and I think it just says a lot.
Yeah, I just, I was very lucky to have had such a good life. And they asked us whenever we had our 50th reunion, how many people in your family went to IUP?
Okay.
Well, my aunt went to the normal school.
Okay.
And she's passed away, of course. She'd be over 100 now. I can't tell you half of my cousins. There were a million of them. They all went to IUP. And then a lot of them went on to become doctors or lawyers or whatever. They were very successful. And so there are a whole lot of people who've taken advantage of living here. Yeah. And then a lot of people went here because, I don't know whether they do it now, but if you're on faculty, your kids can go free.
Oh.
Tuition free. And I think that was kind of a perk that they gave everybody to get them here. Yeah.
I mean, I think it makes a little bit of sense, so.
Yeah. I go to Newman to Mass.
Okay.
And that's a student center, of course. And I don't know whether I'd want to go back to a regular church.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of a mix of young and old. You go into a lot of churches and they're just, all you see is gray hair everywhere. But this is kind of they bring energy to the town, the kids.
Yeah, I know. I can tell just from being around and going to the different places whenever it's like break or whenever school's in.
Now we'll go up and register kids for political stuff.
Okay.
No party affiliation, just go register them, make sure they vote. And so we'll get a chance to know, a lot of them. And that's been fun.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Yeah, and different things. Just you run into people. We get out of Starbucks, run into all these people. That's what's nice about that place, because you start talking to total strangers, and they're interesting.
Yeah, we
met a lot of kids from Saudi Arabia down there, and we talked to them, and it's just you have to, the more people you get to know, the better.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, but I don't know what else I could tell you. I think we covered about everything. Yeah. We used to walk and eat like horses, and we were all skinny. We were all just so skinny, all of us. And and I guess because we walked all the time.
Yeah, maybe.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. But we had fun. We had a good life, and it's very fortunate that we were able to go to that school and experience, because our student teachers, I mean, there were so many student teachers there. Every semester they change, and so we had all of that advantage. I think that was one of the biggest things going over to the high school. You didn't have if you had a question, there wasn't somebody there to help you with it. Whereas you're going to have the supervising teacher and maybe 4 student teachers in a class.
Would those have been like the IUP students? Oh, okay.
Probably seniors. My husband's student taught there.
Oh.
I student taught there. I student taught at Keith, 5th grade.
Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was really weird to go back there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it was just a great time.
Yeah. I don't want to cut you off or anything, but
No.
whenever you're
I think that's about all I can tell you.
Well, thank you.
Sorry,
Elaine.
my voice is like this. I'm just
no, it was wonderful. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for doing